Adam and his family was in town. Sea air blew in from the port. He watched the ships come and go as they enjoyed their dinner on the small balcony. It had been a long day away from home, and they were tired. Adam yawned. A bell roared. It was loud and chaotic. Adam's father leapt to his feet, weapon in hand, and looked at the sea. Him and the other adventurers advanced to the port. A mess of small creatures swarmed the shoreline with weapons in hand. Adam tensed as one of the creatures jumped onto the balcony and came swinging at him. Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason. Today we seek out the Ponaturi. Let's look at what we can learn of this seagoing menace. The oceans are dangerous enough in our world, but in a fantasy world they are wrought with new dangers and challenges, from krakens and leviathans to sirens and charybdis. Among the dangers is the Ponaturi. These creatures come from Māori mythology, around New Zealand. They are small creatures that live in the sea and come to land only at night, for they are weak to sunlight. They are often seen using weapons, but they also have their own sorcerers and clerics. Yes, they can use magic. The Ponaturi are described as goblin-like. Their skin is a greenish white and covered in scales like a fish. They have small fins on their body. Their long fingers end in claws. Often they are said to have yellow or red hair. They are a threat to humans and very rarely have a welcoming interaction. They appear in several stories. In the tale of Tawaki, Ponaturi attacked his village. Tawaki's father was slain, a mother taken prisoner, where she was put in charge of the door of the Manawa Tane house. Tawaki would trick the Ponaturi into believing the day was night, and they left the house. Then they perished. In the story of Rata, he sneaks into a Ponaturi settlement after they steal his father's bones. Rata watches and learns the incantations of the clerics for attacking with a group of warriors. They retrieve the bones and escape. Rata was able to beat them back by using their own magic against them. They appear in several other similar stories. They are smart, but you can outwit them. So what are they? Most sources do compare them to goblins. Is that what this is? Well, the term goblin is a general term used to describe malicious creatures with a humanoid figure. Some do call it a fairy creature as well. Now, hair isn't too uncommon with goblins, such as the boggart or bugbear, but they don't have fins or scales. Nor do goblins live underwater. But there is an issue here. The Ponaturi live in a land beneath the waves, a place with air that humans can breathe. Gills aren't mentioned in any of the stories. That would be an easy identifier for a type of fish. The hair is a sign of mammals. It seems that this is more like a goblin, but then what is with the fins and scales? What is happening here? Is it possible that this breed of goblin has been augmented by its environment? Maybe. This is a magical creature. That isn't outside the possibility. But what would cause it? Influenced by magical energies? The addition of fins could help it maneuver underwater. The scales could come from fish, but there is another issue. If goblin skin is like human skin, it would begin to break down after prolonged exposure to seawater. So, if these are modified goblins, switching to a more scale-like skin could help preserve it. But aren't whales and dolphins mammals like humans? And their skin is fine in water. Well, their anatomy is modified to tolerate the water, and a similar change is needed for Ponaturi. This will also require improvements to the kidneys. Its biggest weakness is just sunlight, to the point of being fatal. Why? We know that it lives in underwater settlements. That means little light, so the eyes should be larger than most other goblins. That would leave them susceptible to being blinded by bright light. But if it has skin like a fish, it would be prone to drying out. That would take time to become fatal, and it isn't instant. So there needs to be something else going on. Now, there is plenty of evidence supporting the Ponaturi having magic. What I am suggesting is that they are drawing from a shadowy and dark source. This is speculation, of course. But if their magic comes from such a source, and that is what has led to their alterations, then light could be more dangerous. But what if they aren't really goblins, but a type of sentient fish? Well, fish anatomy isn't set up for land walking. No hips and limited muscles. We would have to add all the bones and muscles for arms and legs. There are fish which can walk a little bit on their flipper fins, but that is very limited and slow. Overall, I would have to say adapting a goblin to live underwater may be just as hard as getting a fish to walk with legs. But this evolution has happened before, but with the change in fish to amphibian. So there was the loss of scales. Their skin would also need to be able to retain water, again more like an amphibian. Now there are fish with lungs, aptly named lungfish. But lungfish do have gills, and are able to switch between the two terrains. The Ponaturi aren't said to have gills, which means they either breathe through their skin like an amphibian, or they have to hold their breath. With their cities having air, the second is very possible. Overall, without a visual examination, it is impossible to determine what this creature really is. But the goblin variant does seem more possible, wouldn't you agree? Regardless, we can take a guess at where their villages are. They are deep enough underwater that there isn't much light. The photic zone of the ocean is from surface to 200 meters at best, and this is where you'll have some light reaching down into the ocean. The dysphotic or twilight zone is 200 to 1,000 meters, and the aphotic zone is anything under 1,000 meters. And it is completely dark. Now, the light tolerance of Ponaturi is limited, but they can tolerate moonlight and still need to see. So chances are they'll live somewhere in the dysphotic zone. Now, the water between New Zealand and Australia goes down to 17,000 feet or 5,200 meters. So much of it is deeper than where light reaches, which means that there is a chance that their villages are fairly close to the shoreline. The Ponaturi only come at night. In the day, you are safe from their clutches, but the night is when most people are asleep and defenseless. Too easy to find their clammy fingers at your throat. That means you'll need a night watch ready. You'll need some form of warning system, bells or light towers to pass messages. I like bells since they can wake people up, or fireworks. This is loud, but has a secondary benefit. The light that will harm the Ponaturi. It will blind them and leave them exposed. And such, those are the spells to choose. A daylight spell will hurt it, if not flat out slay it. If you have magic to make yourself glow, yes, I know a simple and almost useless spell may actually be useful here. If you can glow, that would open up options in melee combat. They would be blinded and leave them exposed. Flame spells will dry out their skin, causing pain and fear to spread. Now, there is a question of their defenses. They are said to have magic. One likely option they would have is water magic. A simple spell to douse themselves in water to keep them cool, moist, and could extinguish the flames. If they are wet, fire magic may be weaker, but if they are wet, they are going to be weaker to lightning magic. Now be careful here. Their invasions will bring water, it'll end up on the ground, and if you use lightning, you'll risk shocking everyone around you, so be careful here. Ice magic is questionable. I don't think the cold would be as damaging, but if you can get the water to freeze on them, then you can bind them in place, thus giving you an advantage. They aren't stupid, and will have weapons of their own. Spears and harpoons are better suited to use in water. A dagger could be used in grappling attacks on foes that are swimming, so those may be the weapons they choose. That means you'll want armor to stop stabbing. Chainmail would be the weakest option, due to the risk of piercing. Gambeson would fall in the middle, and plate armor being the best. A shield would be useful here. Now they have spellcasters. That means having counter magic on your own would be invaluable. What spells they will use will vary, but a low risk of fire and lightning spells. This could make an interesting discussion, wouldn't it? How would an aquatic race change spellcasting? I may need to do that. The one thing to be careful of is that they usually operate in groups. There will rarely be just one. This means it will be better to have a good and balanced party in the fight. Theirs is likely to be. Overall, Ponaturi is an odd foe. They aren't stupid, and their magic creates many issues which you'll need to handle. Despite their glaring weaknesses to light and the smaller size, I'm still going to give them a 3 out of 10 for difficulty, on par with humans. If you fight the Ponaturi, what do you get? Well, of course, you could eat it. Might be a bit fishy, but that is alright. Loot-wise, they may be carrying things from the ocean, from shells and pearls, to fish and the like. They probably won't have metal weapons, unless they take it from others. But can you cooperate with it? Well, it is intelligent but malicious, so a low chance of working together. As a partner, it could help with underwater operations. But they don't do well with light, and most humans can't see well in the dark. You need to operate using a night vision or dark vision spell. Yet, it is as safe as working with any other goblin. Ideally, I wouldn't try working with them, unless you want to be drowned. Adam sprayed flames at the creatures. It howled in pain, but another was right behind it. More swarmed the area. He stepped back in fear, before a brilliant light rose into the sky like a new sun. Its light was blinding to the Ponaturi. They screamed and fell back, as their skin blistered from the light. He relaxed as cheers went up. It was some time before his father made his way back to the family. He looked a bit worse for the wear, but still alive. That night, Adam didn't sleep well. He kept seeing the Ponaturi lurking in the shadows. He shined a flame into each corner, just to be sure, yet it didn't help. The Ponaturi are an interesting variant of the goblin. Fears the sun, and comes from the sea. It's best to handle with care and thought. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please return next time for the Strix. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.